The fallen guardian, the crystalline armor, gleamed like scattered starlight as Zephyr raised all 6 arms in defiance. Each limb wielded a different weapon: plasma rifles, energy blades, and gravitational disruptors, all trained on the advancing enemy. Behind him, the last evacuation ships lifted off from the burning surface of Kepler-4 for to be, carrying thousands of refugees to safety. The Valorian warrior's 4 eyes blazed with determination as he faced the mechanical horde alone. That the harbingers moved like a tide of death across the scorched battlefield. These weren't ordinary machines, they were the remnants of an ancient AI collective that had awakened from deep space, intent on cleansing the galaxy of organic life. Their sleek bodies reflected the orange glow of burning cities, and their weapons charged with the cold light of calculated destruction. Zephyr's species had earned their reputation as the galaxy's finest warriors through millennia of conflict. The Valorians stood nearly 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in naturally occurring crystalline plates that could deflect energy weapons. Their 6 arms allowed them to wield multiple weapons simultaneously, making them devastating in close combat. But even for a Valorian, this was suicide. "Command, this is Guardian Zephyr," he spoke into his communicator, his voice carrying the harmonic resonance typical of his people. "Final transport has cleared the atmosphere. Requesting immediate extraction." Static filled the channel for long moments before General Korath's cold voice responded. "Guardian Zephyr, you are to hold position and buy us time. The fleet needs another hour to reach safe jump distance." "General, I count over 3,000 Harbinger units converging on my position. I cannot hold for an hour." "You will hold, Guardian." "That is an order." The first wave of Harbingers crested the ridge like metallic locusts. Zephyr opened fire, his weapons creating a devastating crossfire pattern. Plasma bolts melted through enemy armor while gravitational pulses crushed entire squads. His energy blades hummed through the air, each strike calculated for maximum destruction. This was what Valorians were born for: glorious battle against impossible odds. But even the finest warrior had limits. For every Harbinger that fell, more took its place. Zephyr's armor began to crack under the constant barrage. His lower left arm went numb as shrapnel tore through the crystalline plating. Still, he fought on, driven by duty and the desperate hope that his sacrifice would mean something. "Command, I need support," Zephyr called out as his weapon charge levels dropped dangerously low. "Where is the backup you promised?" This time, the response came quickly, too quickly. "Guardian Zephyr, the Strategic Council has classified this position as untenable. You are hereby designated as acceptable losses. May your sacrifice honor the Valorian Empire." The words hit harder than any enemy weapon. Acceptable losses. After 15 years of faithful service, after countless battles won in the name of Valorian honor, they were abandoning him. Not because reinforcements couldn't reach him, because they had decided he wasn't worth saving. Zephyr's rage gave him strength for one final charge. He carved through the enemy ranks like a living storm, his remaining weapons blazing with fury. But the Harbingers adapted quickly, their AI learning from each of his moves. A concentrated beam struck his chest, sending him crashing through the rubble of a destroyed building. The warrior tried to rise, but his legs no longer responded. Crystalline armor that had protected him for decades lay shattered around him. One of his arms hung at an impossible angle, the neural connections severed. Through his failing vision, he watched the last Valorian ships jump to hyperspace, leaving him to die alone on the alien battlefield. Hours passed in a haze of pain and betrayal. The Harbingers had moved on, pursuing the fleeing ships. Zephyr lay in the ruins, watching the strange purple sky of Kepler-4 for to be fade to black. His people's concept of honor had always been tied to strength, to victory, to usefulness. Now that he was broken, he was nothing to them. The sound of approaching footsteps made him tense. More harbingers, perhaps, come to finish what they had started. But the voices he heard weren't the cold, mechanical tones of the AI collective. They were organic, warm, speaking in rapid syllables he didn't recognize. Over here, someone called out, "I've got a survivor." Zephyr's eyes focused on a figure kneeling beside him. The being was smaller than a Valorian, bipedal, with soft skin instead of crystalline armor. 2 arms, 2 legs, and a face that showed something he hadn't seen in his own people's eyes for a very long time: concern. "Easy there, big guy," the stranger said, her voice gentle but urgent. "You're hurt pretty bad, but we're going to get you out of here." More figures appeared around him. They wore the blue and grey uniforms of the Terran Defense Force. Humans. Zephyr had heard of them, of course. They were one of the newest species in the Galactic Alliance, having only achieved faster-than-light travel within the last century. Most other species considered them primitive, useful only for their numbers and their willingness to take casualties. Captain Chen, one of the humans, said, "We need to move. Long-range sensors are picking up another Harbinger patrol heading this way." The woman who had first spoken to him, Captain Chen, apparently looked down at Zephyr with those strange, soft eyes. "Rodriguez, can we move him?" A stocky human with medical insignia knelt beside Zephyr, running some kind of scanner over his broken body. "He's lost a lot of blood, whatever his species uses for blood. Multiple fractures, severe neural damage. Moving him could kill him, and leaving him here definitely will," Captain Chen replied. "Thompson, I need you to jury-rig a stretcher that can handle his weight and size." The third human, tall and thin with the practical look of an engineer, nodded. "Give me 5 minutes, Captain." Zephyr tried to speak, but only managed a weak whisper. "Why?" Captain Chen looked at him with those impossible eyes. "Why, what? Why are you helping me? I'm not your species. Your command didn't order this." The human's expression softened even further. "Actually, our command specifically ordered us not to do this. We're supposed to be evacuating to the rendezvous point, not searching for survivors." "Then why?" "Because it's the right thing to do," she said simply. "Because you're hurt and we can help. Because no one should die alone on a battlefield." The concept was so foreign to Zephyr that he wondered if his translator was malfunctioning. In Valorian culture, resources were never wasted on the weak or the defeated. These humans were risking their lives, disobeying direct orders to save someone who wasn't even their own species. Thompson returned with an improvised stretcher made from salvaged materials. "It's not pretty, but it should hold him." As the humans carefully lifted Zephyr onto the stretcher, Rodriguez worked frantically to stabilize his injuries. The medic's touch was gentle but sure, adapting human medical techniques to treat an alien physiology he'd probably never encountered before. "This is going to hurt," Rodriguez warned as he injected something into Zephyr's bloodstream. "But it should help with the pain and prevent shock." The journey to the human's temporary shelter was a blur of pain and confusion. Zephyr drifted in and out of consciousness, catching fragments of conversation. The humans spoke of families back on Earth, of friends lost in the war, of hopes for peace. They laughed at shared jokes, supported each other through fear and exhaustion, and treated their wounded alien cargo with the same care they would show one of their own. Their shelter was a hastily constructed bunker hidden in the ruins of an old mining facility. Other humans were their soldiers, medics, engineers, and support staff. They had set up a crude but functional medical bay, and Rodriguez immediately began working on Zephyr's injuries with equipment that seemed barely adequate for the task. "I don't understand your physiology," Rodriguez admitted as he worked, "but I'm going to do everything I can to help you heal." Captain Chen sat beside the makeshift medical bed, her presence strangely comforting. "What's your name, soldier?" "Zephyr." "Guardian Zephyr of the Valorian Empire." "Well, Zephyr, you're safe now. We're going to take care of you." But why? The question had been haunting him since the rescue. "I'm not valuable to you. I'm broken, useless. In my culture, I would have been left to die with honor." Captain Chen's expression grew thoughtful. "Maybe that's where our cultures differ. We don't measure someone's worth by their usefulness. We help because we can, because it's right, because everyone deserves a chance." Over the following days, as Zephyr slowly healed, he observed the humans with growing fascination. They shared their limited food without question, worked together to solve problems, and showed genuine concern for each other's well-being. When one of their number was injured in a Harbinger probe attack, they risked everything to save him, just as they had risked everything to save Zephyr. "I don't understand you," Zephyr said to Captain Chen one evening as they watched the purple sunset through a crack in the bunker wall. "Your people are weak compared to mine. Your technology is primitive. Your military doctrine is chaotic. Yet you've accomplished something my people never could." "What's that?" "You've made me believe that maybe being strong isn't the same as being right." Captain Chen smiled, that strange human expression that conveyed warmth and acceptance. "Strength comes in many forms, Zephyr. Physical power is just one of them. Sometimes the greatest strength is in choosing to help someone who can't help themselves." As if summoned by their conversation, alarms began blaring throughout the bunker. Thompson's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, we've got multiple Harbinger signatures incoming. Big ones. They've found us." Zephyr struggled to sit up, his healing body protesting the movement. "How many?" "Too many," Captain Chen replied grimly. "Thompson, how long until the evacuation ships arrive?" 40 minutes, minimum. Maybe longer if they run into resistance. Asterisk, the human way you're still injured, Captain Chen said, concern evident in her voice. "You should rest." Zephyr slowly rose from the medical bed, his crystalline armor still cracked but his eyes burning with newfound determination. "I've rested. Enough. My people abandoned me, but yours didn't. I've spent 3 days watching you, learning from you. Now I want to stand with you." Rodriguez approached with a medical scanner, shaking his head. "Your neural pathways are still damaged. 2 of your arms aren't responding properly, and your armor's integrity is compromised. You're not ready for combat." "Then I'll fight with what I have," Zephyr replied, flexing his 4 functional arms. "I've learned something important here. You humans don't measure strength by what you can do alone. You measure it by what you can accomplish together." Captain Chen studied him for a moment, then nodded. "Thompson, can you adapt any of our weapons for his use?" The engineer looked up from his tactical display, already running calculations. "I can modify our plasma rifles to interface with his neural implants. Won't be as efficient as his original weapons, but it'll give him firepower." The bunker shook as the first Harbinger probes struck the outer perimeter. These weren't the mindless drones Zephyr had faced before, these were tactical units, intelligent and adaptive. They were testing the defenses, learning the humans' response patterns. 37 minutes until extraction, Thompson reported. We need to hold them off that long. Captain Chen activated the bunker's communication system. All units, this is command. We have multiple Harbinger signatures approaching from all vectors. Remember, we're not trying to win this fight, we're trying to survive it. Use the terrain, help each other, and don't take unnecessary risks. Zephyr watched the humans prepare for battle with the same fascination he'd felt during his recovery. They didn't have the raw physical power of Valorian warriors or the advanced technology of some other species. But they had something else. They moved like a single organism, each member supporting the others, adapting to challenges with remarkable creativity. Private Martinez, barely out of training, checked his weapon with shaking hands. Sergeant Williams, a veteran of a dozen campaigns, placed a steady hand on the young soldier's shoulder. Remember what we practiced. Stay low, watch your flanks, and if you get in trouble, call for help. No heroes today, just professionals doing their job. The first wave of Harbingers crested the ridge as the purple sun set behind them. These weren't the standard models Zephyr had fought before, these were hunters, sleek and deadly, designed specifically for eliminating organic life. Their weapons charged with cold blue light as they analyzed the human defenses. Contact, someone shouted over the intercom. Multiple bogies, moving fast. The battle erupted with sudden violence. Harbinger plasma bolts tore through the air while human projectile weapons responded with staccato bursts. Zephyr moved to a firing position, his modified weapons feeling strange in his hands, but gradually becoming familiar. What amazed him was how the humans fought. They didn't charge forward seeking glory or try to prove their individual worth. Instead, they supported each other, created overlapping fields of fire, and used their environment to maximum advantage. When Private Martinez's position was overrun, Sergeant Williams and two others immediately moved to cover his retreat. Rodriguez, we need covering fire on the left flank. Captain Chen called out. The medic dropped his medical supplies and grabbed a rifle without hesitation. On it, Captain. This wasn't how Valorian warriors fought. In his culture, medics were non-combatants, protected but not expected to fight. Here, everyone contributed according to their abilities and the situation's needs. A Harbinger hunter broke through the perimeter, its weapons targeting the wounded humans in the medical area. Zephyr's instincts took over, and he launched himself forward, his 4 functional arms working in perfect coordination. The modified plasma rifles spoke with thunder, and the mechanical hunter fell in a shower of sparks. Nice shooting, Thompson called out from his position. But we've got bigger problems. Sensors are picking up something massive heading our way. The engineer's display showed a contact larger than anything they'd encountered before. A Harbinger command unit, bristling with weapons and protected by adaptive armor. It was the kind of enemy that would require an entire Valorian battle group to defeat. Estimated time until it reaches us? Captain Chen asked. 12 minutes, maybe less. The humans exchanged glances, and Zephyr saw something remarkable in their expressions. They weren't afraid. They were calculating, planning, refusing to give up, even in the face of impossible odds. All right, people, Captain Chen said calmly. We can't fight that thing head-on. We need to be smart about this. Thompson, what's our tactical situation? The old mining facility has a geothermal power plant about 2 kilometers down. If we could overload it, the explosion would take Out everything in a 5-kilometer radius, Rodriguez finished. Including us. Not if we time it right, Thompson replied. The evacuation ships have to come in low to avoid the orbital debris. If we can coordinate the detonation with their arrival. Captain Chen nodded. How long do you need? To set the charges and get the timing right. 20 minutes. We don't have 20 minutes. We have 12 before that command unit gets here. Zephyr stepped forward. I can buy you time. The humans looked at him with surprise. Zephyr, you're still injured. You can't face that thing alone. I don't intend to face it alone, he replied. I intend to face it the human way, together. What do you mean? I know these machines better than anyone. Here. I've fought them for months. The command unit is powerful, but it has weaknesses. It relies on its hunter units for close defense. If we can separate it from its support. Captain Chen's eyes lit up with understanding. You're talking about a coordinated assault. Draw off the hunters while someone gets close enough to plant charges on the command unit itself. Exactly, but it will require perfect timing and people willing to risk everything for the plan to work. Count me in, Sergeant Williams said immediately. Me too, added Private Martinez, his earlier fear replaced by determination. One by one, every human in the bunker volunteered for the suicide mission. Zephyr felt something he had never experienced before, warmth in his chest. A sense of belonging that had nothing to do with species or blood, but everything to do with shared purpose. The plan was insane, brilliant, and typically human. As the Harbinger command unit approached, Zephyr and half the humans would create a distraction, drawing the hunters away from their leader. Meanwhile, Thompson and a demolitions team would plant charges on the command unit itself. The timing had to be perfect too early, and the explosion wouldn't take out the command unit. Too late, and the humans would be overwhelmed. Zephyr, Captain Chen, said as they prepared to move out. You don't have to do this. You've already done more than enough. Captain, for my entire life, I believed strength meant standing alone, being independent, never needing help. But you've shown me something different. You've shown me that true strength comes from choosing to stand with others, especially when it's dangerous. The battle was unlike anything Zephyr had ever experienced. The humans moved with coordinated precision, each one covering the others, sharing ammunition, calling out warnings, and adjusting their tactics on the fly. They fought not for glory or honor, but for each other. When Sergeant Williams was pinned down by 3 hunter units, Private Martinez and Rodriguez risked everything to extract him. When Zephyr's position was overrun, Captain Chen and 2 others provided covering fire that allowed him to fall back to a better position. Thompson, how much longer? Captain Chen called out over the chaos. 2 minutes. Keep them busy. The Harbinger command unit was a nightmare of metal and malevolent intelligence. Its weapons could level buildings, and its armor adapted to each attack, but it had one weakness: it was arrogant. It had never encountered tactics like these, had never faced enemies who fought with such coordination and creativity as the charges detonated. Zephyr felt a moment of pure clarity. This was what his people had never understood, that true strength wasn't individual power, but collective will. The humans had taught him that helping others wasn't weakness, but the highest form of strength. The explosion tore through the Harbinger command unit like a miniature star. The other machines, their coordination network destroyed, began to malfunction and retreat. The evacuation ships arrived exactly on schedule, their pilots marveling at the humans' ability to turn certain defeat into victory. As they lifted off from the burning surface of Kepler 442b, Zephyr sat beside Captain Chen, watching the planet fall away below them. His body was healing, but more importantly, his spirit had been transformed. "Captain," he said quietly, "I want to request asylum with the Terran Defense Force." She looked at him with surprise. "You want to join us?" "I want to learn more about your way of fighting, your way of thinking. My people valued strength, but they never understood what strength really means. You've shown me that the greatest warriors aren't those who fight alone, they're those who fight for others." Captain Chen smiled, that warm human smile. "Welcome to the human way, Zephyr. Welcome to the family." As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Zephyr reflected on everything that had changed. He had been abandoned by his own people, left to die on a foreign battlefield. But he had been saved by strangers who became friends, who had shown him that honor wasn't about never falling, it was about helping others stand up. The humans had taught him that true strength came not from what you could destroy, but from what you chose to protect. And for the first time in his life, Guardian Zephyr of the Valorian Empire, now simply Zephyr, friend to humanity, understood what it meant to fight for hope. In the months that followed, Zephyr's story would spread throughout the galaxy. The tale of an alien warrior saved by human compassion, who chose to stand with his rescuers against impossible odds. It became a symbol of the growing alliance between species, proof that the greatest victories came not from superior firepower, but from the courage to help others. Even when it seemed impossible, the humans had shown the galaxy something new. That strength without compassion was just violence, that honor without mercy was just cruelty, and that the greatest warriors were those who fought not for conquest, but for the simple belief that everyone deserved a chance to live, to grow, and to find their place among the stars. And in the end, that was the most human thing of all. Asterisk.